Kenny. It was my son's place to have met Kenny. It wasn't my place. I didn't go to the football. James did. And I just felt very guilty. I just wanted my son to have met Kenny.
And so many of them were coming into the players' lounge and they were going, I can't believe that I'm here with Kenny Dalglish and John Barnes, and if whoever they lost, if they could see me now in the lounge with my heroes, they would just be loving it. And that showed how much their club means to them. That really made a huge impression on my understanding, which I already had after a year, of the relationship with the club and the fans.
I often wonder what support did they get. They were giving it to us, but what support did they get?
I went to the cup final just shortly afterwards, and it seemed so right that we were playing Everton.
Obviously it is a cup final, but no doubt the players too are keenly aware of the circumstances of this particular match, which they're now walking out to play.
It was fitting that it was a Merseyside cup final, because don't forget, Evertonians would have lost brothers and cousins and loved ones in that as well.
What was great about it is it was a coming together of the city.
It was a very, very emotional day.
There was a minute's silence before the game, and I couldn't handle it. I went downstairs and basically stood in the toilets. I'd rather do me crying there than upstairs.
Barnes. Rush! Goal! 3-2 Liverpool. Ian Rush gets his second. And this now becomes one of the most dramatic FA Cup finals of recent times.
So much emotion, joy and sorrow. I mean, just an extraordinary day.
And Liverpool have won the FA Cup, the first leg of the double, and perhaps softened the pain that so many of their supporters have been through recently. And in a fine, dramatic final, surely lifted the spirits of the whole city and of the game of football.
I always believed that should have been the year that the FA Cup wasn't played for. I thought it'd be nice as a legacy for the 96. But now I think back and reflect on it all, yeah, it was good for the fans maybe, good for the city.
Just 6 days after having won the Cup, Liverpool played Arsenal at Anfield, hoping to win the double. All they needed to do was avoid losing by more than one goal.
And Thomas has done it inside Nico, and Thomas is there, and Thomas has scored, and Arsenal have won the championship here at Anfield.
On the Kop that night, when it went in, there was shock. And then someone, a voice further back, just said, you know what, worse things happen. And it was one of those strange things. It was a moment that broke the misery, broke the depth of misery.
It had been the most turbulent of seasons. But the supporters now had a bigger battle to deal with. The truth of what happened at Hillsborough had yet to be told. It was a fight that would last decades.
It's not unusual in the history of Liverpool for its people to become folk devils, for the media to exaggerate and, frankly, lie about the behaviour.
Well, we all know it was there's a certain newspaper that will never forgive. And to have them headlines that your fans urinated on the dead, robbed the dead, kicked the police when they were trying to give CPR.
People believe this, and this has haunted us ever since. And for the families of the dead, for the survivors, for the witnesses, it's been an extra layer of misery.
And that really got to me. And I thought, at that time, straight away, I thought, we've got a fight on our hands.
Both club and supporters were united in this fight. The players knew that creating memories on the pitch might help. The next season they regrouped and challenged for the title again.
And that could mean that the championship goes to Anfield for the 18th time. Well, there are scenes of delight all around Anfield. The Kop alive with passion and emotion.
I remember the presentation ceremony in 1990 and looking down at Alan Hansen, who was struggling to get comfy. He couldn't stand or kneel for the photographs. In the end, he went and got behind something and leaned on him. His knees had gone. I knew that was literally the end of an era in more ways than one.
They were mentally worn down. And I think that sense of not coming to terms with your experiences and the mental burdens that come with that, I think were apparent that year.
Every experience leaves its mark. Having been a focal point for not just the club, but at times what felt like the entire city, Kenny, King Kenny, decided he could reign no more.
The biggest problem was the pressure I was putting myself under because of my desire to be successful.
Hillsborough took its toll on Kenny. I mean, if you look at the picture of Kenny the day he retired and he goes to Florida, comes back 6 weeks later, it's a different man. It's a totally different man.
So the realisation later on that what he was suffering with was kind of the same thing that I personally and lots of others like me were suffering. Grief is the only way I can describe it.
I was quite devastated, actually, because you always wonder who's going to be the next manager. Will they understand how we feel? But at the same time, we understood it. We understood why he resigned.
It couldn't have been predicted at the time, but Dalglish leaving was the end of an era. His departure led to the Great Red Drought. The club continued their tried and trusted method. When the manager left, the successor was always one of their own.
You're Graham Souness, aren't you? Yeah. You look like me.
Oh,
Now it was the turn of Graham Souness, who'd left the club as a player a year before the Heysel tragedy and had success as Rangers manager.
Well, of course, everybody was delighted when Graham Souness came because it was a Liverpool promotion.
Souness! Souness takes the gap behind the defence and gets in!
He was distanced from the disaster. He come in and restore a sense of perspective.
A lot was changing in terms of the food.